Welcome to SDH's coverage of the USL-W Semifinals. We will take you through each of the four teams and catch up with some of them, let you know how the four teams got to the national semifinals. Matchups Friday night, 7 o'clock Eastern time in both locations. It ends up Indy 11 hosting SF Glens at Grand Park, 7 o'clock there. North Carolina Courage hosting Eagle FC at Wake Med. Field number 2 in Cary, North Carolina. That one's also at 7 o'clock coming up on your Friday. We're going to catch up with head coach Mike Sharabi of Glens SC. We'll get the breakdown of how Indy 11 is going to be approaching their home match against Glens. We also catch up with the head coach of North Carolina Courage's U23s, Willie Davis, and he'll break down his side getting through the busy weekend so they can catch up and have a home match against Eagle FC and trying to get to the national championship in the USL-W, which will be on the weekend of July 22nd. Obviously, the winners of the semifinals, then they will determine once again where the host is and times and all that. So next weekend will be the USL-W championship with the four teams that are taking each other on this weekend. How did we get here? Indy 11 knocked off Minnesota Aurora by the final of 1-0. Central Conference champs knocking off Aurora in a rematch of last year's semifinal. It was a 17th minute. Looking at the best chance for Minnesota Aurora, Kat Rapp gets her head on a service from Mackenzie Langdock. Ended up going just wide. Broken in the 57th minute. Sam Dewey, after a free kick from about 30, Grace Barr sends a ball into the penalty area. Dewey puts it away, and that was the only goal on the board in that one. Dewey in the 57th. Indy 11 advances by the final of 1-0. So how is Indy 11 looking toward this matchup? We yield the floor to Ian Gilmore and our friends at Indy 11.
And our women's side is into the W League semifinals after a 3-0 win over Flint City AFC on Thursday and a 1-0 win over Minnesota Aurora on Saturday to avenge last year's playoff loss. They are into the national semi. So let's chat with a couple of the players. The one with the game-winning assist, Grace Barr. The one with the game-winning goal, and Mrs. SportsCenter Top 10 herself, Sam Dewey.
Yeah, I was ecstatic. I was excited, for our team, for the girls. It's a huge feat, and I think it just shows that Indy can compete, and I think it's huge for the city. I was relieved. I mean, we were packed in a little bit at the end, so Maddie and I were on the sideline, after putting our shift in, watching the other girls go to work and just defend their butts off. So you had bodies flying around everywhere, and we just looked at each other. We were like, bro, we want this. This is just effort, pure effort. So I was ecstatic. I was super happy, and yeah, just glad to get out of there with a win. Really happy to be able to dump some water on Pauly. No, I'm just kidding. He's awesome, and he's done a lot for this team, and so I could tell he was geeked, and I think the girls were too. So I think getting to do the old water and Gatorade dump was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think Saturday it was amazing because honestly it was chippy, it was dirty, it was like two dogs in a battle, and I think what really came out is that they're a great team, and we're a great team too. So it was really testing us as individuals, but as teammates and as a collective whole as well. And I mean, I don't want to say revenge tour, but it's about as good and as gratifying as it can be. It's amazing to be at home. I mean, the fans for the BYB and for Indy are just incredible. I think to have it at home holds a special place in our heart because we want to defend this field. I mean, we lost our only regular season game and our only home game ever this year, and I think we want to come back and prove, hey, that was a fluke. We're here to defend this like it's nobody's business, essentially. I think to get the job done, it's going to have to be all 11 players on the field and then whoever's dressed as well. It's not just who scores goals. It's not just who saves goals. It's the encouragement from the sideline. It's the coaches challenging us. It's us challenging each other to do more, to be more, even when we think we've had enough. So it'll be a great test. Team from the West Coast coming here. So I'm ready. I'm pumped. Family's coming for the first time in 2 years, so I'm ready to play.
Huge. It's massive. I'm so stoked. Like I said, it's huge for the city. I think the fans are going to be rocking. We're going to be geeking. We're going to be ready to go. So I think it's better for the local girls that wouldn't oftentimes get to travel. So there's strength in numbers for sure. So I'm excited to see the turnout, and I know we're going to show up and be ready to play. Yeah, it's got to be all 11 players, kind of like what Grace was saying. The togetherness has to be there. Like I said, I think putting in shifts. It's been a collective group effort, I think, throughout the entire summer. So again, I think it's going to be huge, and I think we play our best when we're focused on us, and we're playing the way that we want to play, and not letting the other team dictate how the game's going. So I think setting the tempo right away from the beginning, manipulating the game how we want to, and taking a bit of control early on is going to be huge.
North Carolina Courage U23s knocked off Tampa Bay United by the score of 3-0. They were dominant in Cary, North Carolina, to claim the Southern Conference final. It was goals in the 30th, the 36th, and the 49th, and then it was 3-0 from there. Once again, North Carolina consistently playing well through the midfield. Heather O'Reilly pulled the strings, and that helped produce the opening goal. Emily Moxley got the first one. Avon Alvarez doubled the lead 6 minutes later, gave him the 2-goal cushion, 2-0 at the break. Courage tacked on a third goal minutes after the start of the second half and 4 minutes in, and so the Courage's defense held in the final 20 minutes. 3-0 your final. North Carolina Courage advancing as well. So how do the Courage feel about getting to the national semifinal? Once again, here's head coach Willie Davis. So now that you've had a couple of days to kind of let the game digest and the weekend digest, what were some of your big takeaways about being able to respond in short order to get to a national semifinal?
Yeah, for us, the game against Tampa, you're just never sure. I mean, you're playing against a quality team. They had conceded very few goals. I mean, 1 goal in league play. And you're just never sure. But I actually felt our response after the Miami City game was probably one of our best game after game situation we've had all year. The team was pretty sharp, pretty engaged. There wasn't a drop off, in this stage of the season where kids are getting closer to prepping for their own preseasons in college. There wasn't a drop off there. And I've seen the same with training this week. So, we hope we can carry that into the game.
What has study hall been like getting ready for this opponent? How readily available is tape? And how quickly is it turned around? What's this process like now? I know obviously there probably aren't a whole lot of secrets with, social media and the internet and all the, different taping things, but what's study hall been like getting ready?
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, we're lucky, I think, to get games, in video pretty quickly. I watched our opponent. I watched their game live when they played their semifinal. And I've rewatched it, the bits that I needed to a few times. My assistant has also watched it a few different times along with a couple of their other games. So it is, I say this, I even tell my kids this. I mean, times have changed. You can get your own games and watch them and clip things and find out what you did well and didn't do well within a matter of minutes. So it's been pretty ready available for us.
So when you've looked at them, and you can divulge as many state secrets as you want going into this matchup, but when you look at them as an opponent, what do you see?
I see a team that likes to go forward, that likes to attack, that can play in a couple different ways. They can try to possess or go direct when needs be. I thought in their last game that they played, their conference final, that there were a few times where their opponent, Morris, forced them to go a little bit more direct, and so they did so. I feel like they have a combination, a little bit of plan A and plan B.
So what about you when it comes to plan A and plan B going up against this side? I know that when you're kind of studying for teams in semifinals and finals and playoff structures, you kind of want to focus on what you do and not necessarily get wrapped up in as much as what your opponent does. Is that the approach, even though you've had a couple of extra days to kind of prepare?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we trained this morning, and I was very honest with them, like I have been with all of our playoff games and most of the games this year. We want teams to have to try to adjust to us. I would assume every team feels that way. There were a few things that takeaways that I took from their games that I feel like that we can try to be successful in doing. And they're very minor additions to what we do because of the way we want to play, but just highlight a couple things we want to kind of address and then be hyper aware of some of their strengths. Great example is against Tampa. I knew number 16, and number 10 were handfuls. So we had to adjust them a little bit. And I felt like it took us a few minutes to figure out how to do things against number 16. But once we did a very good job against a very good player. So, it'll be kind of the same, a few minor adjustments here, a few attacking adjustments, but for the most part, we'll try to stick to what we do.
Glens knocked off Cal Storm by the final of 2-1. Cal actually got the first goal on the board, but it would end up being a goal at 45+1 but from Peyton Marces, and then at 87th minute, and it would end up being the game winner there. Karina Laguerre, goals at 45+1, goal in the 87th after going down in the first 2 minutes. 2-1 your final. Glens over Cal Storm. Here's the coverage from our friends at Cron TV.
In just their first season, the SF Glens Women's Soccer Club has been on a roll. So far, the Glens have won 12 games with just 1 loss and 1 draw. Now they're preparing for the national semifinals in Indianapolis. Cron Sports reporter Aaron Wilson dropped by training today to help preview the big match.
The Bay Area is a hotbed for women's soccer. If you look at the national team, so many players are from California. And with our team, half of them have played on the youth national teams.
Including Stanford standout Elise Evans. In their inaugural season, Evans was the first player to sign with the club. And according to team leadership, she was also the reason they were able to sign most of their national talent that's on the roster right now.
I think playing in this league gives you some confidence to try new things that you wouldn't necessarily do in your typical league with college. So it's been super fun to be able to try out new things, and especially with my former teammates, we play super well together and have a great connection. So just being able to try new things I wouldn't try otherwise, and just getting more confidence on the ball, and then keeping my level as sharp as it is, and then hopefully it even brings my level higher than going into college season. I'll be prepared for it.
That confidence pushed the Glens to be ranked number 1 in the country for 5 consecutive weeks this season. And now, after defeating California Storm in the Western Conference Finals, they are 1 step away from the national title game.
I think it's always super exciting to be at the top, and I think for me personally, I always feel that having that pressure is a privilege for us, and I think that's something that every team wants, and it's about how we're going to embrace it and how we're going to choose to channel that into our game. So I think it's almost just more motivation for us to keep going and keep pushing as hard as we can, and hopefully win a few more games into the championship.
We do have a big game ahead of us. It's not the first for these young ladies, so I think that they're prepared for it, and as a staff, we're just giving them the message of be yourself. What they have done has got them to this point, so we're not trying to change anything. We just want them to enjoy the moment, stop and smell the roses, so to speak, but seize the moment and get that victory.
And then we caught up with head coach Mike Sharabi before they got to travel all the way from one end of the country to Indy to take on Indy 11 in that one semifinal at 7 o'clock. Here's our conversation with the head coach of SF Glens. So, Coach, let me ask you this. When the season started out there in San Francisco, if I had told you that you would be in a national semifinal, what would your response been?
It being the inaugural season for our team, I think the easy answer would be surprised, but knowing the player pool that we had and the fantastic staff that we had, I think this was one of our goals. So I think we were looking at this as a real possibility. We have an extremely talented team, and they are used to winning. So certainly not saying we knew we would be here, but we wanted to be here, and we expected to be here. We had lofty goals going into the season, and we knew that with this player pool, I think half of them have played with the youth national team. So we knew that there was a chance. We just needed them to come together for one common goal and really commit to making this run. So we're very pleased with where we are. But we're not satisfied yet.
How was there a moment in the season where you sat there and you went, man, something really good is going on here? And I'll get into the NorCal division in just a second, but was there an aha moment for you and the staff about, man, this could really be something good here?
I'd say probably maybe halfway through the division, we kind of realized, like, look, these girls are putting together some big score lines and defensively playing very well. And so I'd say it was about halfway through, we thought, we could really make a run at this. And it's a realistic goal to go for a national championship.
In the NorCal division, I mean, it's a lot of heavyweights. And I'm going to date myself by saying this, but I mean, it's a 15-round heavyweight fight because you guys come out of there with 31 points in the regular season after 12 matches, going 10-1-1. Seoul, who's attached to Oakland Roots in USL Championship as a part of their dossier, they finished at 30 points. Cal Storm finished at 28. I mean, for someone who didn't get the chance to see what was going on in the NorCal division that you had to get out of and win to be a part of the playoff structure in and of itself, how competitive is the NorCal division there in USL-W?
It is so competitive. The California Storm are defending national champions for the WPSL. They are a fantastic team, and we had to play them 3 times. We had to play Oakland Seoul 3 times, and both of those teams have national team players, former youth national team players. They were battles every game, and so I think to be able to get out of the West was a huge accomplishment. And I think it says a lot about the NorCal division being a first-year division and having these heavyweights. It made it difficult, but that's what we wanted to challenge ourselves. The whole point of this was to challenge the group. And so to be able to get out of the West, having to play those teams 3 times, we're very pleased with that.
What's it been like for Glens to build something like this from the ground up, even with the player familiarity that was there and the knowledge base that you had? What's it been like to build this from the ground up to get it to this point?
Yeah, starting something new, there's always a level of excitement. Saying that, being a part of this league for the first time, we didn't really know what to expect. Myself didn't really know what to expect from our opponents, from the level or anything like that. We just kind of knew that what we had, and each game we kind of realized, okay, we're taking care of business here, and we may be able to do this. So I'd say for the Glens, having this be the first time, I think it's been fantastic, and we've had so much support from the administration, from our general manager, from the community, and the Glens are trying to, we're trying to get to professional status. And it's not easy. We know that. We are a nonprofit club, so there's a lot of funding that is needed for that. We're hoping that, people will take note of what we're doing and potentially get some investors to try and, get to that level and get to that platform. We are building a stadium on Treasure Island, which is right in the middle of the bay. And it should be done in a year or 2. And so that's kind of the goal, is to get us to the professional level. And we're just the jump off point. We're just the starting point with that.
I was going to ask you, and you mentioned the support when it comes to the fan support for something like this in a league, in a first year kind of a thing. What's the fan support been like? Has it been there from match week 1? Was it something that built as its way through the season and feel folks are seeing the success rate with Glens? What was it like with the fan support, and what's it been like?
I think it's been there since week 1. We had, the youth teams coming out to the games, the young girls walking out with the players, and the excitement. The excitement's been there since the first game, which is awesome. And we've had some of the big games. We've had some big crowds. We've had some games where the weather has been extremely foggy and extremely windy, which is not what you're used to for a, July game or late June, early July game. But we were able to handle those elements. And yeah, the support has been there, and it's pretty awesome. And I feel like it's only growing now with the local recognition through the news outlets and whatnot.
I feel like almost when you mention that kind of things, I'm going to date myself with this reference, but I feel like, and this is the Google search for today for anybody who's listening, maybe to resurrect the quad candlestick, a Glens version of the quad candlestick for making it through the games that you have with the conditions that you have. For someone who hasn't seen you play this year, run through your philosophy And if you want to spill some, trade secrets, you can as we get you ready for the match against Indy 11. You want to break any news here, you can. Philosophy for the Glens and some of the standouts for folks who would be gravitating toward this match for the first time. If you and I were sitting in the broadcast booth, you're my color guy, and the broadcast starts. Title card, it's, Glens and Indy 11 and all that kind of stuff. And then it's the players to watch. Who would be the players to watch for folks who've never come to see you play?
I'd say, we're a very possession-based team. We want to keep the ball. We want to move it through the lines and control the tempo of the game. And some of the players to watch, there's a few, but I would say Elise Evans in the back line. She's fantastic. She plays at Stanford. She was the National Freshman of the Year. And Mia Buddha, who's a U17 national team player. She is a center midfielder, also is going to Stanford. And Nadia Gomes, she's one of the elder statesmen of the team, so to speak. She's had some experience with the Portuguese national team. She's excellent, excellent 1v1, and just a fantastic player. She scored some really big goals for us this season. I'd say those are kind of three different spots on the field. There are plenty of others. We're very, very fortunate to have such a talented team, and they really play for each other. We have a saying: we don't play with each other, we play for each other. And I think it shows when the girls step on the pitch.
Uncle Sharabi, head coach of San Francisco Glens SC, getting ready for the national semifinal in USL-W, and he's got 3/4 of the planet to traverse, or just the continent to traverse, as he gets ready for the matchup against Indy 11 here on the USL-W preview for the Final Four. I mean, you mentioned the defense, and this was one of the things that I wanted to get into you about. Obviously, 12 matches, you averaged a little over 3.5 goals a game, but you only give up 1 goal a match. And once again, we talk about the NorCal division. You only give up 12 and 12. Seoul only gave up 13 and 12. Cal Storm only give up 12 and 12. So it seems like, obviously, they say defense wins championships, and that's $1 in the jar for me for dropping a cliche. But can you run through that defense for me and what it's been like to see them be as stingy as they have been there, getting out of division and getting into the playoffs to a Final Four?
Yeah, they sometimes say the best defense is a good offense, and I think that their ability, our ability to keep the ball in the back and not allow the other team to have possession, not allow the other team to have transition moments, has really been fantastic as far as keeping the other team out. Our goalkeeping has been excellent as well. We've used 2 goalkeepers, Isa Banuelos and Bianca Dominguez. They have been fantastic. And I think, the back line, they've been very stingy, not giving up opportunities, busting up counterattacks, making sure that we don't turn the ball over in our half. 68% of goals come from turnovers in your own half. So we really emphasize not turning it over in our half and not giving up corner kicks and set piece opportunities that will give, teams that chance to find a goal. So I think defensively, the ladies have been very stingy and have really made sure that we're not giving up goals, even in games that we're scoring a bunch. And it's kind of, there was a few that the score was a bit out of hand. We still are taking pride in shutouts. We're taking pride in not giving goals up. Defending is an attitude, and our girls have a great attitude.
So study hall, getting ready for this matchup in the national semifinal. For those that were filling out their brackets, it's the left-hand side of the bracket, Glens and Indy 11. What has study hall been like getting ready for this match? How much tape have you seen? How much sleep have you gotten? When did studying start? And what do you see in Indy 11?
Sleep, I have a 21-month-old daughter. So sleep is something that is precious around here. We've had a look at the film. It started, as soon as we enjoyed the victory last Sunday, and then we got right into preparing for Indy 11. They're a very good team. We know that we are in for a battle with a fantastic team, and they're well coached. And I know that some of the things that we look for is they look to transition fast. So our goal is going to be in those moments of transition. Can we get our shape defensively? Can we slow them down and delay? And on the flip side, when we win it, can we transition fast and look to catch them out of shape? So yeah, we're preparing. We still have some more film to watch with us and them once we hit the road tomorrow and have our film session at the hotel. But yeah, we're going to be well prepared, as I'm sure they're going to be well prepared. And it's going to be a fantastic game.
So then how did Eagle FC get to the Final Four? Beating Morris Elite by the score of 6-0. 45+3 was the first goal on the board from Courtney Bouillon. And then goals in the 48th from Melina Descari. Goal in the 54th to make it 3. And then Nia Christopher in the 64th and the 75th made it 5. You get a goal in the 87th as well. Meg Tate was the one who scored in the 54th minute. So goalless for the first 45. 45+3, 1-0 at the break. 48th, 54th, 64th, 75th, 87th. Eagle FC advances, taking on Morris Elite. Final score there was 6-0. So that's your Final Four in the USL-W League playoff bracket. Once again, Glens having to travel, go to Grand Park in Indianapolis to take on Indy 11, 7 o'clock Eastern Time. North Carolina Courage at Wake Midfield number 2, Friday, 7 o'clock, taking on Eagle FC. If you are in either of these markets, if you're in Indy or if you're in Cary and can catch it, please do. National semifinals, some of the best in the USL, chasing after a title as they are for the W. If you can't follow along on local providers, and if you can't be in market and you're out of market and you can't follow along on local providers, follow along on social media with USLWleague.com and all the social media that is attached right there. And we will have a preview of the championship after these matches are played this weekend. So we want to thank the clubs that have made it to the Final Four for helping us out with this preview. Keep an eye on the matches tonight, 7 o'clock Eastern Time for both, and we'll know who is going to be in your title game for USL-W in short order. For everybody here at SDH, I'm just John. Thanks for hanging out with us. That's your preview of the USL-W Final Four.